Nate Boone Craft reflects on his tumultuous past, detailing how he navigated the gritty underworld of Detroit, a city where survival often meant embracing the shadows. Born into a world where the American dream seemed like a distant fantasy, Craft's early years were marked by hardship and struggle. The streets of Detroit were not just his home, they were his battleground, a place where every day was a fight for survival. Craft, a man whose steely gaze reflects the harsh realities he's faced, doesn't shy away from his past. His eyes tell a story of resilience and determination, a testament to the countless battles he has fought and the scars he carries, both visible and hidden. Each glance is a reminder of the life he has led, a life that has shaped him into the man he is today. He speaks with a chilling matter-of-factness, his voice a low rumble that speaks of both menace and weary acceptance. His words are not just a recounting of events, but a reflection of the cold, hard truths of his existence. There is no embellishment, no attempt to soften the edges of his story. It is raw, unfiltered, and brutally honest. His story is not one of redemption or remorse, but of survival in the face of overwhelming odds. In a world where the line between right and wrong was often blurred, Craft made choices that were necessary for his survival. He does not seek forgiveness or understanding. He simply tells it as it was, a stark portrayal of life in the shadows. Detroit in the late 20th century was a city on the edge. Once a thriving hub of industry and innovation, it had become a symbol of urban decay and economic decline. The factories that had once provided livelihoods for thousands now stood abandoned, their silence a stark contrast to the bustling activity of the past. Industry was fleeing, taking jobs and hope with it. The exodus left behind a city struggling to find its footing, grappling with the loss of its economic backbone. The impact was felt in every corner of Detroit, from the crumbling infrastructure to the rising unemployment rates. What remained were poverty, despair, and violence. The once vibrant neighborhoods were now plagued by crime and neglect, the sense of community eroded by the harsh realities of daily life. For many, the future seemed bleak, a never-ending cycle of hardship and struggle. It was in this crucible that Nate Craft, or Boone as he came to be known, was forged. His environment shaped him, molding him into a figure who could navigate the treacherous waters of his world with a mix of cunning and strength. Boone was not just a product of his surroundings, he was a survivor, a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure even the harshest conditions. His childhood was a brutal education in the ways of the street, where loyalty was fluid and violence was always lurking just around the corner. From a young age, Boone learned that trust was a luxury he could not afford, and that alliances were often temporary and self-serving. The lessons he learned were harsh, but they were necessary for his survival. Craft learned quickly that the only way to survive in this environment was to be tougher, colder, and more ruthless than his adversaries. He developed a keen sense of awareness, always on guard, always ready to defend himself. His instincts became his greatest asset, allowing him to navigate the dangers that surrounded him. He learned to fight, not for sport, but for survival. Each punch, each move was calculated, a means to an end. The gym became his sanctuary, a place where he could hone his skills and prepare for the battles that awaited him outside. It was here that he transformed his body into a weapon, a tool for survival in a world that showed no mercy. He learned to use his fists, his wits, and whatever weapons he could get his hands on to protect himself and those he considered his own. In a place where the law of the jungle prevailed, Boone became a force to be reckoned with, a figure who commanded respect and fear in equal measure. His journey was not an easy one, but it was a testament to his resilience and determination to survive against all odds. One fateful night, Craft's path crossed with Rick Carter, a notorious figure in Detroit's underworld. The air was thick with tension, the kind that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Craft had heard of Carter, of course. Everyone in the city had. He was a man whose name was spoken in hushed tones, a figure who commanded both fear and respect. Their first encounter was a clash of wills, a tense standoff that could have easily turned deadly. The alley was dimly lit, shadows playing tricks on the eyes, but the intensity between the two men was unmistakable. Craft, though young, was no stranger to danger. He stood his ground, his eyes locked onto Carter's, neither willing to back down. Carter, known for his quick temper and even quicker trigger finger, saw something in the young Craft, a raw potential that he recognized. It was as if he was looking into a mirror from his own past. Carter's reputation was built on his ability to read people, to see their strengths and weaknesses in an instant. And in Craft, he saw a kindred spirit, someone who could be molded and shaped into a valuable asset. Instead of violence, Carter offered Craft a job, a chance to use his skills in a more organized and profitable way. It was an unexpected turn of events, one that left Craft momentarily speechless. But he quickly realized the opportunity that was being presented to him. This was a chance to step out of the shadows, to become more than just another street thug. Craft, ever pragmatic, saw the opportunity for what it was, a way out of the endless cycle of street violence, a chance to climb the ranks of the city's underworld. He knew that accepting Carter's offer would change his life forever, but he was ready for it. He had always been a survivor, and this was just another step in his journey. He started as an enforcer, a collector of debts, his reputation for ruthlessness preceding him. Craft took to the role with a natural ease, his sharp mind and unyielding determination making him a force to be reckoned with. He quickly learned the ins and outs of the business, understanding that power and respect were earned through action, not words. He moved up quickly, his efficiency and unwavering loyalty earning him Carter's trust and respect. Craft's rise through the ranks was meteoric, each success building on the last. He became known as Carter's right-hand man, a position that came with both perks and dangers. But Craft thrived under the pressure, his ambition driving him forward. Craft, however, never forgot the lessons of his youth. He remembered the hard streets he came from, the betrayals and the losses. Those memories kept him grounded, reminding him of the fragility of trust and the importance of always being prepared. He knew that trust was a fragile thing in their world, and he was always careful to maintain his own network of contacts, his own escape routes. Craft's foresight and strategic thinking were his greatest assets, allowing him to navigate the treacherous waters of the underworld with a level of caution that kept him one step ahead of his enemies. He understood that in their line of work, it was not just about who you knew, but also about who you could trust when things went south. And so, Craft continued to build his empire, always with an eye on the future, always ready for whatever came next. While working for Carter, Craft's reputation as a formidable fighter continued to grow. His name became synonymous with raw power and unyielding determination. Every punch he threw, every opponent he faced, added to the legend that was Craft. The gym became his sanctuary, a place where he could channel his inner turmoil into something tangible, something that made sense in a world that often didn't. He found an outlet for his aggression in the city's underground fight clubs, bare-knuckle brawls where the only rules were survival and entertainment. These fights were brutal, raw, and unfiltered, a stark contrast to the regulated matches in the gym. Here there were no referees, no rounds, just pure, unadulterated combat. The crowd's roars echoed in the dimly lit basements, a cacophony of bloodlust and excitement. Craft thrived in this environment, his skills honed to perfection in the crucible of these savage encounters. The money was good, the adrenaline rush intoxicating, and the victories further solidified his reputation as a man not to be trifled with. Each win brought a new wave of respect and fear, both valuable currencies in the world he navigated. The cash he earned was a lifeline, a means to an end, but it was the thrill of the fight that kept him coming back. The feeling of his knuckles connecting with flesh, the taste of blood in his mouth, the roar of the crowd. It was a high like no other. But the streets were never far away. Craft's work for Carter often spilled over into the city's drug trade, a dangerous game where alliances shifted like sand, and betrayal was a constant threat. The underworld was a labyrinth of deceit and danger, where one wrong move could mean the difference between life and death. Craft navigated this treacherous terrain with a mix of caution and aggression, always aware that trust was a rare commodity. He witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of addiction, the way it tore apart families and communities, the sight of hollow-eyed addicts wandering the streets, the cries of children left to fend for themselves, the despair etched on the faces of those who had lost everything. It was a grim reminder of the cost of the life he led. Each encounter with the broken lives left in the wake of the drug trade weighed heavily on him, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of his world. He saw the desperation in the eyes of addicts and the cold calculation of those who profited from their misery. The dealers, with their cold, hard stares and ruthless efficiency, were a stark contrast to the broken souls they exploited. Craft couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt each time he saw a new victim fall into the clutches of addiction, knowing that, in some way, he was complicit in their suffering. Craft, despite his own involvement in this world, never lost sight of the human cost. He was a man caught between two worlds, struggling to reconcile his actions with his conscience. The violence and chaos of his life were a stark contrast to the moments of clarity when he saw the true impact of his choices. These moments of introspection were rare but powerful, forcing him to confront the reality of the path he had chosen. He carried a code, a sense of twisted morality that prevented him from preying on the weak or the innocent. In a world where morality was often a luxury, Craft held on to his own set of rules. He refused to exploit those who couldn't defend themselves, drawing a line that he would not cross. This code, though unconventional, was his way of maintaining a semblance of humanity in a life that often seemed devoid of it. He justified his actions as a necessary evil, a means of survival in a world where morality was a luxury he couldn't afford. Each decision, each fight, each deal was a step on a path that he hoped would eventually lead to something better. Craft knew that the road he walked was fraught with danger and moral ambiguity, but he held on to the hope that one day he could find a way out. Until then, he would continue to fight, both in the ring and on the streets, driven by a relentless determination to survive and protect those he cared about.